Hey guys, this is Red from Two Guys Playing Zelda, and today I'm going to be counting down my top 5 favorite outfits in Breath of the Wild. Now, in putting this list together, I tried to look beyond just the base defensive statistics of each set, and I tried to take into account some of the set bonuses and perks that each set gave you, as well as the usefulness of the gear, and also just how cool I thought it looked overall. Before I get into my top 5, I'd like to give a shout out to some honorable mentions I had. I really liked the ability of the Champion's Tunic to show the amount of health an enemy had remaining. I thought it was great, so you not only knew exactly how close you were to killing something off, but it also gave you a good idea of how much damage you were doing with each hit of your weapon. I was also a big fan of the stealth gear. I loved the Sheikah look, and the boost that it gave you to your stealth was really useful, although personally I didn't use stealth all that much in Breath of the Wild. And finally, I have to give a special mention to the Phantom Ganon armor from the Champion's Ballad DLC, just because I think it was the coolest looking armor in the entire game. Now with those out of the way, let's get to the top 5. There are few things in Breath of the Wild more annoying than getting shocked. Whether it's getting hit with a shock arrow, or the lightning rod, or just plain getting struck by lightning while out adventuring, it's just a terrible experience, and that's why the rubber armor makes an appearance on my countdown. I love how each individual piece offers some shock resistance, but once you've got the complete set and you've upgraded it a little bit, Link becomes totally shock proof. I also love that the shrine quest you had to undertake to get the chest piece, the Trial of Thunder, I thought was one of my favorite shrine quests in the entire game. And when it comes to the appearance of the rubber armor, I just love the fact that the helm looks just like the main structure from Zora's Domain. I just thought this was a really cool, neat little touch. The Zora Armor is the only set on this list that's actually required to beat Breath of the Wild, but I think its usefulness goes far beyond just the areas where it's required. With how much water there is in this version of Hyrule, whether it's lakes or rivers, the boosts that the Zora set gives you are just so useful to have. I love that each individual piece increases Link's swim speed, but then also when you're wearing all 3 pieces and they've been upgraded a little bit, your swim dash uses even less of your stamina, which is great, especially earlier in the game when you may not have much stamina. My favorite part of the Zora armor is how it's used in the approach to the Divine Beast Vah Ruta. I loved using it to swim up the water spouts so you could fire shock arrows at the weak points on the Divine Beast. It was one of my favorite parts of the entire game. I think the Barbarian Armor just looks awesome. The combination of like the bones and skulls and the body paint just make it really unique and make it stand out from some of the other armor sets in the game. It really makes it look like a savage trying to survive out in the wild. But more important than the appearance of this gear is the set bonuses you get with it. Each individual piece increases Link's attack power, and then when you have all 3 pieces together and upgraded, it actually uses less stamina when you're doing your spin attack, which is just really useful against like your large stationary targets like Guardians and mini-bosses. Plus, I loved how each piece of this armor was hidden within one of the labyrinths in Hyrule. These were some of my favorite shrine quests, so I loved exploring them to find the Barbarian Armor. I don't think there's a set of armor I used more often in Breath of the Wild than the climbing gear. The introduction of climbing to the game created all kinds of new ways to explore the world, but it also led to some new frustrations when you'd be close to the top of a cliff or a mountain just to run out of stamina and go crashing back down to the bottom. This is what made the climbing gear so useful. Each individual piece increased your climbing speed, and when you had the full set upgraded a couple of times, it used less stamina when you jumped while climbing. Now, I think this was insanely useful, especially earlier in the game when you were a little lower on stamina and you didn't have Rivali's Gale to help you reach higher places. So all in all, I loved this gear so much just because of how useful it was. I mentioned in the intro that I tried not to let a set of armor's defense rating factor too strongly into my rankings, but when it comes to the ancient armor, the protection it offers is just so high that it's impossible to ignore. The fully upgraded set has a defense rating of 84, easily the highest in the game. Each set also offers Guardian resistance, further reducing the damage dealt by Guardians. This is really useful for exploring Hyrule Castle, especially late in the game, thanks to the high number of Guardians that are lurking around that area. Finally, when you wear the complete upgraded set, you earn Ancient Proficiency, which increases the amount of damage you do with your ancient weapons, such as the Ancient Bow and the Ancient Short Sword. The insane defense level and awesome perks make the Ancient Armor my favorite set in Breath of the Wild.